I remember a few years ago when I was living in Houston, I matched with one of those rose profiles on Hinge. Y'all know the curated profiles with the best looking women? The minute I got the match, I was so excited, and I remember telling myself, man, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get with this girl. So I took my time with it, curated the right messages, made sure everything sounded right. I had to give my best, my so-called player vibe. And when it came time to set up the date, I used to think that I was so smooth. Like, I would come up with like some options and I would present them just to kind of give her a little insight in terms of like what we can do. We ended up going to one of my favorite restaurants. And I remember sitting in the restaurant, I arrived first, and when she walked in, the first thing I noticed was she didn't quite look like she did in her photos, but I didn't let that stop me. I kept going. So I'm talking, selling myself, running through everything that I can think of that would make me stand out from other people. And looking back on it, it was all performance. And so it's no surprise that at the end of the night, she told me I was a great guy, but she just saw me as a friend. And look, I'm not gonna lie, it hit. As many men can very well understand, rejection sucks. And so I'm driving home, and that's when my mind started going somewhere else. I'm in my feelings. And I started thinking, you know what? Man, she didn't even look like she did in her photos. She's 40. Like, what has she been doing this whole time? Like, why is she even single? Does she want kids? I'm thinking because she's an older woman, no offense, like, does she want that? I never really stopped to think about all these questions that were coming up, but it was only after the rejection. And maybe I was being a little salty. I'm human. But it took me a few years to really understand what I did wrong in that situation. I walked into that date attached to an idea based on photos that weren't even real. And I never stopped to ask the questions that actually mattered. The questions that I only thought about after it was already over and I was probably a little salty and maybe even bitter, I'd hate to say. And the truth is, that wasn't just my mistake. It's the same mistake most men make. But instead of recognizing that, most men come to a different conclusion. Most men think the reason they're single is because modern women just aren't relationship material anymore. Too many women care more about attention and validation than building a real relationship. Feminism teaches women they don't need a man, while social media and dating apps give women endless validation and allow them to develop unrealistic expectations. But very few men ever stop to ask, what role do I play in that dynamic? Because the mistake I made on that Hinge date is the same mistake most men are making right now. Looking back at that time, I remember being frustrated. I was frustrated with women, frustrated with dating, and every time I'd whine and complain to my family and friends, I'd get even more frustrated when they'd point out that I was the problem. That used to make me so upset. Because like in my mind, how? But here's what I started to learn eventually. One thing that is always gonna be true, like anytime in life you're in a situation, you play a role in the outcomes that you get. When it comes to women, we play an even bigger role than we think, especially when we think about the unrealistic expectations that women have today. If I go back to that Hinge situation, it actually shows exactly where I went wrong. And if I'm being honest, this is where most men go wrong too. So for starters, there's the match. The minute I matched with her, I lost leverage. Why? Because one, I validated it because she was a rose profile. She had good pictures. I was immediately attracted. And right there, I already needed an outcome. That's where I lost leverage, establishing need almost immediately. That's the moment everything shifts, right in the beginning. Because the second you attach to an outcome, you give away your leverage. And the way to think about it is when she walks into the date, she's walking in to assess, who is this guy? What's his vibe? What's his presence? What type of experience? She's undecided. But me, on the other hand, I'd already made my decision the minute I saw the nice photos. I walked into that date with pick me energy, choose me energy. So the dynamic is already off because now I'm chasing. And anytime a man is chasing, he's already leaking leverage. Everything else follows from there. I planned the date, I curated everything, and I showed up just to only talk about myself. And all of that comes from the same place, chasing. I wasn't there to observe, I was there to perform. And women can feel that immediately. So while I'm sitting there talking about everything I've got going on, she already knows that if she wants to move this forward, it will, because the decision is already hers. And that's the worst place to be, because when the decision is all hers, it kills the tension, which kills polarity and kills attraction. And that's something that most men don't understand. So here's the principle for today. The moment you decide before you evaluate, you lose leverage. And without leverage, everything else follows. And here's the truth from that date. She didn't reject the man who showed up and assessed her honestly. She rejected the same guy she's been rejecting her whole life. The one who arrived already decided, who wasn't there to find out who she is, who was there to be approved. And looking back, I wouldn't be surprised if she felt it the moment she sat down. And here's the kicker about this thing. Even if a woman likes you, she knows that you're not going anywhere. So she can decide anytime because you've already made your mind up. She's in control. And that's just not a story about women. This is about men handing over the entire dynamic before dates even start. And so when we see women walking around with this level of entitlement, it's because they have men lining up, not because they have great characters, but because men are chasing validation, chasing looks, chasing surface level traits, instead of establishing polarity by assessing them based on their character. When we allow ourselves to start chasing, to start focusing on outcome, we give up the one thing that actually works in our favor, leverage. And here's the thing, when you keep your leverage, right, you become a man who's still deciding, still watching, still qualifying. And that shifts the entire dynamic because you're no longer performing, you're observing. The woman stops being certain and she starts trying. That's important. You're not managing her impression of you. You're busy forming one of her. So just think about that. That creates something most men never experience. Tension, uncertainty, real curiosity. And here's the best part. You're not anxious about the outcome because you already know. It's you who decide. You see how leverage works? I'm gonna get out of here. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel.